You know, they've all been delivered already. So's the coffee. The only one who's not organised and ready to go is me. But here we go. Here are the letters for tonight. We've got fantastic guests for you tonight too. They're all very clever, every single one of them. 10 out of 10s. Good panel tonight. First letter tonight. We've just discovered at this very early stage of the information age that computers and robots can talk to one another in a language that we don't know they're using. We can't work it out. Is that the beginning of the end? The first letter writer wants to know what the panellists think. Second letter tonight. Do any of the panellists have to look at their spouse or partner every minute of the working day? A mum who writes in because she has to work with her husband as well as go home with him, sleep with him, and you know the rest, 24 hours of the day. Is that a bit too much? And the last letter tonight, how dare any government waste 122 million Australian dollars on a national survey? You know what we're talking about. We'll see what the guests have got to say. Don't go away. Sweet and Sour coming up right now with your say as well. See you soon.
Got a problem, big or small, would a miracle be nice? Our motley crew is back, churning out advice. You might even laugh a bit in the following half hour. Park your backside on the couch, cause baby it's time for Sweet and Sour. Right here on Sweet and Sour.
Pour some sugar on there, baby.
It's time for Sweet and Sour.
How's about some chili?
It's time for Sweet
Up and down
and
in his
Sour.
suit already. Here we go. Good evening, everyone. Lovely to have your company. Gary Mitchell with you for the next fun-filled half hour. Well, not really. I've seen the topics on tonight. They're a bit heavy, but we'll see what the guys make of it. First up tonight, welcome back, Bid.
Hello.
Welcome, sir.
Thanks, I was only sleeping under the desk anyway.
Good to have you here, sir.
Thanks.
Hello, my mate Yvonne.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Have you had a busy week?
Such a busy week. It's been so intense.
What did you do between last week and this week?
I started work experience at Channel 9.
Ooh.
Yes.
Any good? Are they nice to you at
Yeah,
Channel 9?
they're lovely to me. They're so nice.
Have you been chatting to Bid next to you?
I
every day?
have.
'Cause-
We've been talking about journalism. Because Bid was a journalist for many years.
Channel 7? Channel 10? Who
7,
else?
9 and 10.
7, 9 and 10.
Sadly. Yeah,
Sadly. All right, terrific. And his daughter's here too. We're not allowed to
Hello.
call you that, are we?
No, I try to avoid any association.
Hello,
where possible.
Gemma.
Hello.
How are you?
I've missed you.
You're a sweetheart. Are we allowed to tell people that you were 14 when you won this international competition
Well, you just did.
for modelling? What was it called?
Oh, Ford Supermodel of the World, I believe, or
There you
some
go.
other such
There you
rubbish.
go. At 14.
Yeah.
And then they sent you to where?
They sent me to Miami.
Miami.
To
And that's
compete.
where the world
That was where
competition
the world one was.
And
yeah.
you came?
Third.
Third at 14.
Yes.
That's why you recognise the name, that's why you recognise the face. It's been a little while though, hasn't it?
Yeah, as I said, I was more mature then than I am now.
Not really. Hello, Jono.
How you going, Gary?
Tick, 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 tick. Barley's coming.
Well, it is. It's getting closer and closer.
It's closer and closer because you flew back for this one.
Yeah, I did. And really
And when do you
enjoyed
fly
the
out
flight.
now? Another couple of days?
About 3 days' time.
3 days' time. All right. Big breather. Thank you, sir. Very much appreciated.
Pleasure to be here.
Here we go. Crush, kill, destroy. Dear Mitch, I'm really scared for my kids and grandkids. Technology controls us and we let it, thinking that it's making life easier for us. Soon we'll all become slaves to those things we believe are helping us. We become dependent on technology and then spend our energies trying to maintain that level of dependence. Think about it. We spend thousands of dollars to get us back up and online if our laptops and smartphones fail. We don't actually need it. We've just come to believe that we do. Same with our cars and any appliance that you can think of. Now, however, I'm really scared for our future. We've just discovered at this very early infancy stage of the information age that computers and robots can talk to one another in a language spontaneously generated by themselves, the AI robots. Thankfully, we discovered it early and switched it off immediately because we had no means of controlling it. But imagine if the next time it occurs, the artificial intelligence community has learnt to hide the communication. And what if humans are interpreted as a threat to whatever priority the robots have, and then are able to communicate amongst themselves. We've meddled in bacteriology, and now we don't have any antibiotics left to combat the superbugs. And we're doing the same in the field of artificial intelligence. I feel like I'm in a bad Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Are we on the brink? What can we do, panellists? Writes Brian of West Torrens in South Australia. Bid, welcome to the future.
Yeah, look, I just want to say that Crush, Kill, Destroy and Young is my favourite band from the 60s. Look, I read your letter and just couldn't agree more. There's a neurologist by the name of Steve Polyak, and he says, before we work on machines, artificial intelligence, why don't we do something about humans' natural stupidity? And that's where I am on this topic. I'm with you. I mean, some theorists are actively talking about the fact that the internet might become sentient. It's got enough connections to do so.
Yeah.
This is a very, very scary world. I mean, imagine it. Overnight we'd be overrun with porn and cat videos. So
We have robots writing our
Sounds great.
news reports right now.
we do.
It's scary.
Look, I worry more about human interactions with machines. We don't have time to go into it on this, but you know, face-to-face is more intimate than the phone, which is more intimate than email, which is more intimate than texting, etc., etc. Every step we get the convenience of the communication, but it's impoverished. I worry about that. It's scary and it's inhuman, and what worries me the most is that the technology always precedes the morality. We do
Yes,
these things
always.
because we can, not always because they're a great idea. So the atom bomb, cloning, GMO, AI, aspects of gene manipulation, I have no idea whether any of these things are good, but we're doing them because we can.
We're going to do them. Does it scare you, Yvonne?
No, not really. I don't really feel, I don't know.
We are going to have consequences. There's nothing in my mind more certain than the
Yeah.
fact is we're going to have consequences.
But
we
is-
always do.
But is
We're
that,
going to learn.
is that like really the worst thing in the world? Because the way that I see
No,
it is
that's
that,
the way of the world.
yeah, like if the robots decide that humankind is terrible and we're like parasites and we're pests, the same way that you would see a rat as a pest, then is it really such a bad thing if they then
That's
try
bad
and
for the
find-
humans.
I
This
mean,
is bad for us who are still around
what
at
if
that time.
they're- What
yes.
if they're more logical than we are, and
They
they,
will
see,
be.
but they will be exactly, and they see like, okay, we need to reduce human population, for instance. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to, stop a majority of humans or a certain amount of humans being able to procreate. Then is that really necessarily a bad thing? Because I'm sure like somewhere along all of their artificial intelligence, they'll also see compassion and they'll see it's inhumane or in robotic to like wipe out humans. So why not just stop us being able to procreate? And I don't know if I necessarily see that as a bad thing. The world is overpopulated. We need to do something.
Why would they stop us procreating? Why wouldn't they just exterminate us? Because we're pests. at
Because
that
I
point.
think that if they have access to all that information, they would also have access to the idea of compassion and of cruelty. And
Good
I
luck.
think,
How do you program for that?
but you don't necessarily program. I think because if they have access to all of this, vast amounts of information, then they're going to see somewhere that it's inhumane or in.
Gemma, is that wishful thinking?
Look, I think we need to take a little bit of a step back because the letter talks about some AI robots that created their own language. I actually was across this story when it came up. What happened was the chatbots were programmed to talk to each other and also improve as they went along. And they decided English was an inefficient means of communication, so they created a shorthand, but they still used English words. It wasn't quite creating their own language, and they were programmed to do this. They did exactly what they were told to do. So it's not so much for me that it's scary that they found a more efficient way to do it. It was more what they weren't built to do, in the sense that nobody told them not to create a different type of way of speaking. So it really comes down to rubbish in, rubbish out. It's only as good as what we decide to put into it. And on another note, some chatbots in China were recently shut down because they were learning from people speaking to them, and they started spouting anti-communist slogans. So that's the flip side. The power of
Is that
what
the flip
information
side or
goes.
the same side?
Well, I guess it depends
reckon
what your
it's the same
opinion on
side.
communism is, but it's
know,
really what goes in comes out.
Humanity on this side, robots on that side. Jono, final
I'm
word.
going to take a very hard line on this. I think artificial intelligence is awful. And you only need to think of when you dial a bank these days and you can never get through. And if you move house and you want to connect with Telstra, you get put through a series of robots and options. It's so impersonal that I'd like to see it all disappear. I
Get rid
think
of it.
we've created too many problems with artificial intelligence.
Put it in
and
a
we
bot
need to
bank.
have people running parking lots, bus conductors back, and people at your service station pump to put petrol into your car. I think we need to go back to the 60s and 70s and get rid of it.
Yeah, we're supposed to be a community of people, not things just servicing those people who just happen to be there. We asked our online community, that's you people,
And a postal vote.
robots are able to communicate amongst themselves in a language not understandable to humans. Is this the beginning of the end? And this is what you said. There you go, 63% said yes, it's the beginning of the end. When we come back, more, I suppose, of the end. Working and living with your spouse. It's the end for some people. Don't go away, more of Sweet and Sour.
Done it.
You've done it? Yeah. Does it work?
Getting in touch with Sweet and Sour is easy. Just head to sweetandsour.net.au to send us a letter. And while you're there, why not check out our past episodes? Plus, don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And for a behind-the-scenes look at Sweet and Sour, check us out on Instagram.
And for everyone that sends us in a letter, we're going to send you to the movies, courtesy of Natalie Cameron and NRC Communications. I'm looking for the title of the... There it is, Hampstead. Hasn't changed from last week. Thank you, Natalie Cameron. We're sending everyone to see Hampstead, and here we go with letter 2, called You Again. Hello? Do any of the panellists have to look at their spouse or partner every minute of the waking day? We've been married for 27 years, and about 5 years ago we bought a news agency and went to work together. It was terrific for the first 3 years, but then our employees one by one left, and because the economy got much tighter, we didn't replace them. As a result, my husband and I spend every waking moment together. It's personally very hard going, and I get to the point several times a day where I want to throttle him. As I'm emailing he's yelling out and wants to know who I'm chatting with. Some coping tips would be appreciated, but we've already put the shop on the market hoping to sell, but with very few bites. Not many people want to get into news retail because the young people now get all their news from their phones, and the lotto commissions don't yield enough. We're just waiting. So how does anyone cope when they're feeling trapped? What can the panellists suggest, please? Yes, we will be watching together. Frida of Templestowe in Victoria. Jono, ever done this?
Yeah, I have done that. I was married to the person I worked with in the same law firm, and we occupied a fairly small amount of space in this team of lawyers, and we saw each other on the way to work. During work, we had lunch together, and we saw each other in the afternoons as well.
But the question is, why did you have lunch together? That was your opportunity to go for a break.
Gary, we both love Japanese food so much that we used to go and get Japanese almost every day. But in terms of tips for this particular person, I found the only answer was you have to get divorced, which is a little bit sad. And that's even if you really love your wife, because you can't be with her night and day, minute by minute, hour by hour, no matter how good looking she is, no matter how good her sense of humour might be. You need your time apart.
They've done this for 5 years. And the first 3 were okay, but one by one, they all left. 5 years. How would you go with this one, Gem?
I would not go well, but I did have a thought. It's pretty random, but it's really the only thing I could think of that might help you out. I thought you could introduce a little bit of role play into your situation. Create alternative characters for each other, and with
very clever.
different name, backstory, and then you could go to work as
Make it
two
different.
perfunctory colleagues, banter at each other at work, and who knows, some relationship might develop between Bob and Sally, and you might find yourself putting the fight back in 5 minutes sign up on the news agency.
Excellent.
To go have a
Just
smooch
make it
under
different.
the counter.
Okay. Tell me, Yvonne, what would you do? How would you feel if you were trapped in this situation?
I would feel horrendous. I am such an independent person, and
Would you ever choose to go into a working relationship with your partner?
Absolutely not. See,
That's the mistake, isn't it?
My boyfriend works FIFO. He's away half of the time.
Fantastic.
And I love that. And when he's home, I get sick of him. So
all the men are rushing around now going, hey, listen, she's a free agent for most of that time.
I need my own space. I couldn't do this at all.
Okay, what do you do? Did you like the idea of role play?
I love that idea, Gem. That's brilliant. Yeah. I think that's a very clever alternative. But I mean,
that's a good idea whether you're in this situation or not, actually.
Like, I don't see why they both have to run the news agency together. Like, I mean, I see that economics, yeah, but like, for the sake of sanity, surely you could employ one more person and then one of the two. The greater priority, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Big, last word on this one?
I agree with what everybody said, but you're watching this together. I mean, are you crazy? What are you, Siamese twins raised by wolves? What's going on? I think you're heading for one of those deck of cards marriages where you start out and all you need is 2 hearts and a diamond. By the end, you wish you had a club and a spade. So, yeah, just don't do it. Go out, hire somebody. You know, spend some time on your own.
On your own. You need some away time. We asked our online community, you people at home, this question: is being in business and working every day with your spouse good for the relationship? Oh, what do you reckon? Here we go, this is what you said. 32% said yes. 32% said yes. Well, what are you thinking? 68%, thank goodness, said no. When we come back, we're going to see what our panellists think of this survey, which isn't a plebiscite, which isn't a referendum, which is a waste of money, isn't it? Don't go away. Sweet and sour. More after the break.
I like the combination of sweet and sour, but if I had to choose from either the sweet or the sour, I would choose sweet because that's how I am.
It's time for Sweet and Sour. Right here on Sweet and
It's an inevitable conclusion. I think he's right.
It's hard to say which
We're already talking about this letter already. Here we go. Hello, sweet and sour. I'm offended. How dare any government waste $122 million on a pathetic, waste of time national survey just because they have an internal political struggle, a weak leader and no capacity to lead. I'm really livid. I've never been so cynical about politics because the politicians have never been this contemptuous. No matter the result of this non-binding, non-compulsory survey, the gay marriage issue still has to be put to the Parliament. So, simple really, why can't they just save us all the time and money and just put it to the Parliament? I voted for Turnbull. I'm sorry I did. What a pathetic roller coaster he's delivered to an inevitable conclusion where marriage equality will be part of the Australian culture very shortly. The worst in all of this is that Turnbull and co are creating an erosion in the Australian political system with this voting survey precedent. That is to potentially chip away at our strong national processes. In particular, I'm referring to our world-acclaimed compulsory Australian secret ballot, which is being sidelined. What's happening with our political system? When did this government become missing in action? Neville, Mandurah, WA, Gemma, I'm with this bloke in as much as saying, you know, all politicians on all sides you've got to blame them all. They're all point scoring. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
And we're paying.
They're not scoring any points with me, and this is a debate that's gone on far too long. This postal vote is an utter embarrassment. $122 million to ask Australians about something that's basic human rights. Even if it was compulsory and binding, I don't think this should come down to a popularity vote. If you found out the majority of Australians didn't believe that two redheads should be able to get married, then that wouldn't necessarily mean it was right. Our politicians just have to pull up their socks and pass this themselves. Because we don't believe that all adults should have the same and equal rights. Basically, if you're threatened or disgusted by two people who you don't even know how they love and have sex, then I think probably you're not getting enough of either of those yourself.
Jono, the one thing that really offends me in all of this is that it is a total waste of time because it still has to be put to the Parliament, no matter what happens.
Gary, I'm going to look straight at your camera and I'm going to tell you what I think about the postal vote. I think it's absolute nonsense. I think we're tearing up dollar bills. The politicians in the federal parliament should have
everybody all together.
Should have the gumption. To take it to a vote without putting it to a postal vote costing $122 million. I'm absolutely appalled. I think it will lead to the demise of the Turnbull government because he is showing what an incredibly weak and pathetic leader he is by going down this path.
All of them.
I'm very, very angry.
But, you know, Shorten's allowing this survey to happen, even though he was against the plebiscite. I don't have respect for any of them in this instance. Will I vote? I don't know yet. I don't know, because, you know, my vote's irrelevant. I'm sorry I ripped that up because I don't know who's next. Let's your say. Okay, we asked our online community this question: is a non-compulsory, non-binding postal plebiscite a proper process for changing laws in Australia? Have a look at this. I don't think we've ever had this result before. Only 5% said yes. 95% of people said no. And you know our demographic is, you know, we've got lots down the young end and lots down the upper end as well. So that's quite amazing. Goodness me. Okay, now where's that bit of paper? We've got bid.
Politics, wow. Show business for ugly people. Ugly in spirit anyway. They say that the last person to have a fully funded, coherent policy to enter Parliament was Guy Fawkes. Not that I'm recommending his approach. Anyway, I think, like most people, I've been waiting for the real Malcolm to turn up. And guess what? It turns out there isn't one.
He hasn't turned up.
He hasn't turned up. He's
what happened to that man?
To quote Paul Keating, he's all tip and no iceberg.
Anyway.
Yeah, he's all tip and no iceberg. So he's a flog. He's arguably, as John said, the most ineffectual leader we've had since Billy McMahon. I'm not a Labor supporter, nor do I think they've covered themselves in glory. Mark Twain said that politicians like nappies should be changed regularly and for pretty much the same reason. But we've tried that. That hasn't worked either. A postal vote is a disgraceful waste of our money about an issue that the Australian public have already made up their minds.
Yvonne, last word.
Okay, look, one of the biggest problems that I have with this is the idea that it's actually a postal vote. Postal, I think, appeals to an older demographic. I think that the Liberals have been very strategic in this. They could have easily developed an app or something like that to appeal to younger demographics to vote.
Or done both.
Or done both. But I think that they know that older demographics are probably more conservative and they're the most likely to vote in a postal vote, and therefore it'll probably sway more in their direction.
A lot of Liberals want it to go through.
There are a lot
of
socially progressive Liberals do, but I think that there
I just think they've been absent, like this bloke says. You know, hands up. We don't know how to process
But
it.
I do also think that there is a significant conservative influence within the Liberal Party.
No question.
Yeah.
This wouldn't be happening if that wasn't the case.
Precisely.
Do you like this letter to give away the pair of limited edition sunnies, or do you like another one?
I like letter 2.
Letter 2? What was letter 2? I've ripped up half my sheets.
I think they need some
You
excitement
again.
in their lives.
Oh, okay, the couple that live and work together. Jono?
Yeah, I'll go for the couple that live and work together for obvious reasons.
They're all going to, you know,
They can role play.
Yeah. Coming out to Frida of Templestowe in Victoria. Oh, there you go. Panellists, fantastic to have you. We've got to go because it says we're almost about to wrap up. So thank you all very much for coming back for a second week in a row. It's terrific to have you. Thank all of our wonderful crew, and thanks for having us at home tonight, Australia. Good night, everyone. Thank you. See you next week. Everybody all together. All right, that's what we think of the...